The headlights of Detective Olivia Marshall's car cut through the early morning mist as she drove down the winding roads of Pine Tree County. The tall pines that gave the county its name stood like silent sentinels along the roadside, their shadows dancing in the pre-dawn light. It had been 17 years since she'd last set foot in this place. 17 years since the case that had haunted her dreams had gone cold. She'd left the local police force shortly after, seeking the anonymity of a bigger city and the distraction of more solvable crimes. But now she was back. The email that had arrived 3 days ago had been brief. "We found something. Morgan Creek Trail, Thursday, 6 a.m. It was signed simply Parker, her former partner who had stayed behind when she left, who had never given up on the Kimberly Walsh case while she had tried her best to forget. As Olivia pulled into the small clearing that served as a parking lot for the Morgan Creek Trail, she spotted Parker's familiar silhouette leaning against his truck. Time had turned his once dark hair completely silver, but his posture remained unmistakable. Shoulders squared, head slightly tilted to the right. "Some things never change," she thought. "Didn't think you'd come," he said as she approached, his breath visible in the cool morning air. "Honestly, I wasn't sure myself until I got in the car yesterday," Olivia replied, studying his face. The lines around his eyes had deepened, mapping 17 additional years of worry and persistence. Parker nodded toward the trailhead. "It's about a mile in. Forestry Service was doing some controlled burning, clearing underbrush. Found something we missed back then." They walked in silence along the trail, each lost in memories of 2008. Kimberly Walsh had been just 19, a sophomore at NC State, home for the summer and working at the local library. Smart, well-liked, with her whole future ahead of her. Then one evening in July, she never came home from work. Her car was found parked at the Morgan Creek trailhead, as if she'd decided to take a walk after her shift. But Kimberly wasn't known to hike, especially not alone, and certainly not at dusk. The search had been extensive. Volunteers from 3 counties, search and rescue dogs, even a helicopter with thermal imaging. Nothing. No body, no evidence of struggle, no sign of Kimberly. The case had slowly faded from headlines as days turned to weeks, then months. By the 1-year mark, it had joined the files of unsolved disappearances that populated police stations across the country. "Here," Parker said, stopping at a point where the trail curved around a large boulder. He gestured to an area that had clearly been recently disturbed. The charred remains of vegetation had been cleared away, exposing bare earth. "Forestry crew found this 2 days ago." Olivia looked down at the small marker flag planted in the ground. Beside it lay a clear evidence bag containing what appeared to be a silver charm bracelet, tarnished by years of exposure. "Is that—" she began. Her mother confirmed it yesterday. It was Kimberly's 18th birthday gift from her grandmother. Never took it off, according to everyone who knew her. Olivia crouched down, studying the spot where the bracelet had been found. "After all this time, how did we miss this area in the search?" Parker shook his head. "This section was dense underbrush back then, almost impenetrable. We had dogs through here, but—" He trailed off, the implication clear. Something had been missed, or someone had been very careful. "There's more," Parker said, his voice taking on an edge that made Olivia look up sharply. "Ground-penetrating radar showed enough that we got a warrant to excavate. We're waiting on the forensics team. Should be here within the hour." Olivia stood slowly, feeling the weight of what remained unsaid. After 17 years, they might finally find out what happened to Kimberly Walsh, and someone in their tight-knit community had been harboring a terrible secret all this time. "You know what this means," she said quietly. Parker nodded grimly. "If we find what I think we're going to find, we're looking at a homicide, and the trail's been cold for a long time." "Not entirely cold," Olivia countered, gesturing to the bracelet. "We have this now, and maybe more soon." "That's why I called you," Parker admitted. "I need fresh eyes. Everyone around here, we're too close to it. We've been looking at the same suspects, the same theories for years. But we've been missing something, obviously. Olivia felt a familiar tension in her shoulders, the mixture of dread and determination that came with cases like these. Let me see the original files, everything you've got. I want to start from the beginning. As the first rays of sunlight began to filter through the trees, casting long shadows across the trail, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that Pine Tree County was about to change forever. Secrets buried for nearly 2 decades were about to be unearthed, and someone who had been living a normal life, perhaps right in their midst, was about to face a reckoning. "Before we head back," Parker said, interrupting her thoughts, "there's something else you should know." He hesitated, uncharacteristically uncertain. Kimberly's father passed away 5 years ago. Heart attack. Her mother, though, Linda's still waiting for answers, still keeps Kimberly's room exactly the way it was. Olivia nodded solemnly. She'd seen it too many times, the frozen shrine of a missing child, preserved in amber while the world moved on. "Then let's give her answers, Parker. It's long overdue." The Pine Tree County Sheriff's Department hadn't changed much in 17 years. The same wood-paneled walls, the same fluorescent lighting that cast everyone in a sickly pallor, the same coffee pot that probably hadn't been properly cleaned since Olivia had left. She sat at a desk in the corner, surrounded by cardboard boxes containing the entirety of the Kimberly Walsh investigation. Photos, interview transcripts, timelines, theories, all of it growing yellower with each passing year. Olivia had been reading for hours, reacquainting herself with the details that had once consumed her every waking thought. The forensics team had confirmed what they'd all suspected. Human remains had been found near where the bracelet was discovered. The county medical examiner was working now to determine if they belonged to Kimberly, though everyone in the department already seemed convinced. "Any revelations?" Parker asked, placing a fresh cup of coffee on the desk. Olivia rubbed her eyes. "Nothing yet, but something about the timeline still bothers me." She pointed to the statement from Kimberly's co-worker at the library. According to Diane Mercer, Kimberly left the library at 6:45 p.m. Her car was found at the trailhead, which is less than 10 minutes away, but the security camera at the gas station across from the trail entrance didn't pick up her car until 7:30 p.m. Parker nodded. "We noticed that too. 45 minutes unaccounted for. Did anyone ever figure out where she went during that time?" "No solid leads. We interviewed everyone in town, it seemed like. Her boyfriend at the time, Trevor Matthews, said they'd texted around 17 p.m., and she mentioned stopping somewhere, but couldn't talk about it." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Couldn't talk about it? That didn't raise any flags?" Parker shrugged. "Trevor said she sometimes spoke like that when she was buying him gifts or planning surprises. We checked her bank statements. No purchases that evening." Olivia made a note on her legal pad. Something wasn't adding up. She turned to another file, the list of people interviewed in the weeks following Kimberly's disappearance. "What about Raymond Caulfield? I remember he was a person of interest." Parker's face darkened. "Caulfield? Yeah, he was on our radar. Maintenance worker at the library. Had a prior for assault back in the 90s. He always claimed he was home alone that night, no alibi. But nothing concrete to connect him to Kimberly? Nothing we could prove. But there was something off about him during questioning. Too nervous for an innocent man." Olivia nodded, making another note. "And what about—" She was interrupted by a sharp knock on the door. Sheriff Wilson, a man Olivia barely recognized from her time in Pine Tree County, entered with a grim expression. "Medical examiner just called," he announced without preamble. "Dental records confirm it's her, Kimberly Walsh." Though they'd all expected this news, the confirmation sent a palpable ripple through the room. For 17 years, there had been that sliver of hope that perhaps Kimberly was still alive somewhere. Now that hope was extinguished forever. "Cause of death?" Parker asked, his voice steady despite the emotion Olivia could see in his eyes. "Blunt force trauma to the back of the skull. Single blow. Me says it would have been quick." A small mercy, Olivia thought, though she knew Linda Walsh would find little comfort in such details. "There's more," the sheriff continued. "They found fibers embedded in the remaining tissue. Synthetic dark blue. Me thinks they might be from a specific type of work uniform. They're running tests now. Parker and Olivia exchanged a look. The library maintenance staff wore dark blue uniforms. We need to talk to Caulfield again, Olivia said firmly. Already on it, Sheriff Wilson replied. Sent a deputy to his house, but he's not there. Neighbor says he left in a hurry this morning, threw a bag in his truck. He knows, Parker said, already reaching for his jacket. Someone must have tipped him off about the discovery at the trail. I want every available deputy looking for Caulfield's truck, the sheriff ordered, and get his photo out to neighboring counties. If he's running, he won't get far. As the office erupted into activity, Olivia remained seated, her eyes drawn to a photo of Kimberly Walsh smiling from the case file. Pretty, with dark hair and bright eyes that held such promise. I should visit Linda, she said quietly to Parker as he prepared to leave. She deserves to hear the details from someone who cared about the case from the beginning. Parker nodded. She's still in the same house on Maple Street. I called her after the ME confirmed. She's waiting for news on the investigation. Olivia gathered her notes and stood. I'll head there now, but first, tell me everything you know about Raymond Caulfield, where he might go, who his friends are. He's a loner, always has been. Lives out on Route 16 in that old farmhouse that used to belong to his parents. No family we know of. Spends most of his time at Decker's Tavern when he's not working. And he's still at the library, all these years. Budget cuts, Parker explained with a hint of bitterness. Town consolidated positions. He handles maintenance for all the municipal buildings now. Olivia absorbed this information, a theory beginning to form. Has he had access to the evidence room here as part of his job? Parker's eyes widened slightly. Not directly, but he's been in to fix the heating system, change light fixtures. Why? Just wondering how he might have known we found something at the trail. The Forestry Service discovery wasn't public knowledge, was it? No, we kept it quiet. But in a town this size, secrets don't stay buried for long. Olivia finished his thought. Just like Kimberly. As she drove toward the Walsh residence, Olivia's mind raced with possibilities. The pieces were there, just not quite fitting together yet. Kimberly's unexplained 45 minutes, the text to her boyfriend, the blue fibers, Caulfield's hasty departure. What had Kimberly discovered 17 years ago that had cost her her life? And what had Caulfield been hiding all this time, living among the very people who mourned her? The modest white house on Maple Street came into view. Olivia parked and took a deep breath, preparing herself for the conversation no detective ever wanted to have, the one where you confirm a mother's worst fears, but still can't tell her why or how her daughter met such a tragic end. As she approached the front door, Olivia promised herself she would not leave Pine Tree County again until Linda Walsh had every answer she deserved. Linda Walsh's living room was a testament to suspended grief. Family photos lined every surface, most featuring Kimberly, graduation, birthdays, summer vacations, all frozen in 2008 and earlier. No new memories had been made, no new milestones celebrated. Time had stopped in this house the day Kimberly disappeared. The police chief called, Linda said softly as she handed Olivia a cup of tea. Her hands trembled slightly. He said you found her. Olivia nodded, choosing her words carefully. Yes, I'm so sorry, Linda. The medical examiner has confirmed it was Kimberly. Linda's face remained composed, though her eyes filled with tears. After 17 years of uncertainty, the confirmation seemed almost a relief, a terrible answer, but an answer nonetheless. Did she suffer? Linda asked, the question that tormented every parent in her situation. The evidence suggests it was quick, Olivia assured her. A single blow to the head. She likely didn't know what happened. Linda nodded, absorbing this information with quiet dignity. And do you know who did this to my daughter? We have a strong suspect, Raymond Caulfield, who worked at the library. Officers are looking for him now. Recognition flickered across Linda's face. The maintenance man. But why would he hurt Kimberly? She barely knew him. That's what we're trying to determine, Olivia replied. I was hoping you might be able to help us fill in some gaps. Did Kimberly ever mention Caulfield to you? Any interactions, however minor? Linda thought for a moment, then shook her head. Not that I recall. She talked about her supervisor and the other student workers, but never the maintenance staff. Olivia nodded, unsurprised. What about in the days before she disappeared? Did Kimberly seem different in any way? Worried, distracted, excited? This time, Linda's expression changed subtly. She was preoccupied with something at work. I remember because she stayed up late on her computer the night before. When I asked, she said she was researching something important, but wouldn't elaborate. Olivia leaned forward. Did she use a personal computer? Do you still have it? Yes, it's still in her room. We never changed anything. Linda trailed off, gesturing toward the hallway. Would you mind if I took a look at it? There might be something that could help us understand what happened. Minutes later, Olivia was sitting at Kimberly's desk, looking at a time capsule of 2008 technology. The computer was outdated, but intact. As it booted up, Olivia's phone rang. It was Parker. We found Caulfield's truck abandoned at the bus station, he reported. Security footage shows him boarding a bus to Charlotte 2 hours ago. State police are coordinating with Charlotte PD to intercept. Good, Olivia replied. Listen, I'm at the Walsh house looking at Kimberly's computer. Linda mentioned Kimberly was researching something important the night before she disappeared. I think whatever she found might be why she was killed. Any idea what she was looking into? Not yet. I'm going through her search history now. Olivia navigated through the ancient browser, finding Kimberly's search history from July 2008. Most were typical college student searches, course materials, social media sites, music. But in the days leading up to her disappearance, a pattern emerged. Searches for Pine Tree County budget discrepancies, municipal fraud reporting, evidence of embezzlement. Parker, I think Kimberly was investigating some kind of financial fraud in the county government, Olivia said, scrolling through more results. There are searches about whistleblower protections, how to document evidence of theft. That would explain the text to her boyfriend about stopping somewhere she couldn't talk about, Parker mused. Maybe she was gathering evidence. And it explains why she was at the trail that evening. It's secluded, a good meeting place. Olivia continued searching through the computer files, finally finding a folder labeled simply PCE Evidence. Inside were screenshots of what appeared to be financial records, with certain line items highlighted. I found something, she told Parker. Spreadsheets, financial documents. They look like maintenance budget allocations for county properties. And there's a name that keeps appearing on the authorization line, Martin Delaney, the former county commissioner. Parker sounded surprised. He resigned suddenly about 10 years ago, moved to Florida, said he wanted to be closer to his grandkids. These documents show systematic overcharges for maintenance supplies and services, Olivia explained, scanning the files. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over several years, all approved by Delaney. The pieces were beginning to fit together in Olivia's mind. Parker, who would have executed these maintenance orders? Who would have processed the actual purchases? There was a pause on the other end of the line. The head of maintenance for municipal properties, Parker finally said, which back then would have been Raymond Caulfield, Olivia finished. I'm betting Caulfield and Delaney were working together, padding maintenance costs and pocketing the difference. Kimberly must have stumbled onto their scheme while working at the library. She had access to the municipal archives as part of her job, Parker agreed. She could have seen invoices, purchase orders, the whole paper trail. And then she started digging deeper, Olivia said, looking at the dates on the files. The most recent was from the day before Kimberly disappeared. She compiled all this evidence and was going to expose them, which is why she had to be silenced, Parker concluded grimly. Exactly. And if Caulfield and Delaney were working together, then we need to find Delaney too, Parker said urgently. I'll contact the Florida authorities immediately. Just as Olivia was about to respond, a notification popped up on her phone, a news alert from the Pine Tree County Gazette. Breaking! Former County Commissioner Martin Delaney found dead in Florida home, apparent suicide. "Parker, are you seeing this?" Olivia asked, her pulse quickening. "Delaney's dead. They're calling it suicide." "Too convenient," Parker replied tersely. "Caulfield must have contacted him after fleeing this morning, told him we'd found Kimberly, and that it was only a matter of time before their scheme was exposed. Delaney chose to end it rather than face prosecution," Olivia said, "but Caulfield is still out there." "Not for long," Parker assured her. "Charlotte PD just confirmed they've apprehended Caulfield at the bus terminal. He's being transported back to Pine Tree County now." Relief washed over Olivia, though she knew the case wasn't truly closed yet. "I need to show these files to Linda, and we'll need to prepare for Caulfield's interrogation." "I'll handle that," Parker said. "You stay with Linda. She'll need support processing all of this." When Olivia returned to the living room, Linda was sitting exactly where she'd left her, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on a photo of Kimberly. "I found something," Olivia said gently, sitting beside her. "Something that helps explain what happened to Kimberly." As Olivia carefully laid out the evidence of the embezzlement scheme and Kimberly's discovery, Linda's expression transformed from grief to a mixture of pride and anger. "She always had a strong sense of right and wrong," Linda said, her voice steadier now. "Even as a little girl, of course she would try to expose something like this. Her actions ultimately did bring them to justice," Olivia assured her. "Raymond Caulfield has been apprehended. He'll face charges for Kimberly's death and for the financial crimes." Linda nodded, touching the edge of a photo frame gently. "All these years, I've been waiting, wondering. Part of me always hoped she might walk through that door someday. Now at least I know." "Would you like me to stay with you?" Olivia offered. "I can call someone to be with you." "No," Linda said with surprising firmness. "I've lived with this halfway grief for 17 years. I need to begin to process the truth, and I think I need to do that alone first." Olivia understood. She left her card on the coffee table and promised to return tomorrow with any updates on the case. Outside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Maple Street. Olivia stood by her car for a moment, looking back at the Walsh house. A case closed, but without the satisfaction that usually came with solving a mystery. Only the hollow knowledge that justice, when it came too late, was a poor substitute for what had been lost. Her phone buzzed with a text from Parker. "Caulfield talking. Full confession. Says it was an accident, but forensics doesn't support that. Press conference tomorrow at 10 a.m. You should be there." 17 years after leaving Pine Tree County, Olivia had helped bring closure to its most haunting case. As she drove toward the sheriff's department, she reflected on how a community would soon process the shock, that a killer had lived among them all this time, that corruption had festered in their local government, that the truth about Kimberly Walsh had been buried just a mile from where many of them hiked and picnicked. The headlines would blare the sensational news. North Carolina 2008 cold case cracked, suspects arrest shocks locals. But behind those headlines was a young woman who had tried to do the right thing, a mother who had waited 17 years for answers, and a community that would never be quite the same again. Some cold cases stayed cold forever, but Kimberly Walsh would finally have justice, and perhaps somewhere she was at peace.